Top of the mountain to all of you. I am Colby, and in today's video, we are repairing the tent mesh that got messed up on my last backpacking trip to Little Yosemite Valley. We were camping at Little Yosemite Valley. It's a very busy campsite for backpackers, and there are some squirrels there that are very aggressive. They will rip through your backpack, they will rip through your tents, and we were hanging out down by the Merced River for a while and came back, and a pesky squirrel had climbed up underneath my vestibule and went up onto the tent mesh, chewed a hole through my tent mesh, also put some other smaller holes around the mesh, and so created a little bit of a problem for us, but we are going to repair that. But you can see this is a pretty good size hole. That was a pretty fat squirrel that got through there. Kind of a funny story. We didn't know the hole was there. My son was in the tent changing, and he found a little piece of squirrel poop on his mattress. And he's like, "Dad, there's some squirrel poop in here." And I said, "There's no way there's squirrel poop in there." And he picks it up and he squishes it and smells it and is like, "Oh, that's definitely squirrel poop." So then we were on the hunt and couldn't find the hole. And then lo and behold, it was up kind of on the roof, which I wasn't expecting. I was expecting it more like on one of the sides or something. But that's the first time we've had any problems with rodents, squirrels, things like that, actually chewing a hole through the tent. You try to take great care of your tents, but sometimes the animals have other ideas and chew a hole through. So after that happened, I did not have any way to repair it out there. This is too big for just like a piece of tape. I also just wanted to make sure we repaired it correctly because I don't want to throw like a big piece of duct tape on there or something like that. But in the meantime, to keep the mosquitoes out and the bugs and stuff out, I actually took a baggie, one of my baggies. Most of us have a few of these with different things in it. And I actually just sealed up most of the baggie and left a little hole at the top. Just enough air so that it could still get through the hole, but I could pull it through, and now we've got the main hole there plugged up. So that was just a little ingenuity while we were backpacking on how to keep bugs out and things out while we were there. So just want to show you that just in case you get in the same situation. And I mean, most of the time we're not bringing some big patch kit in case an animal chews a hole in our tent, because this is the first time it's happened to me in many years of camping and backpacking where we actually had something chew through. So I was a little bit concerned. We love this tent. This is probably my most used tent. When I take me and my oldest son out, we go more often than the whole family and all my little kids and stuff. So wanted to save the tent. Obviously don't want to buy a new tent. This is a nice tent. It was an expensive tent. And so today I'm going to bring you along as I do my best to repair this hole. When I got home, I did a little research. I thought about emailing Nemo and connecting with them to see if they could help fix it. But it looks like it's pretty straightforward and I should be able to fix it. The nice thing is in today's day and age, we've got companies like GearAid making these patch kits. And this is a 3-inch patch kit. I don't know if they make anything larger than that. This 3-inch patch should be perfect for the job. One thing you got to remember is it is 3 inches, but the tape alone around the outside takes up at least a ½ an inch or maybe a little bit more than that. So if you have a hole that's exactly 3 inches wide, this may not work. It needs to be a little bit smaller than that so that the tenacious tape on the outside can actually stick to your mesh. Now I took a wet paper towel and cleaned around the area a little bit because, you know, these gather a lot of dust and things. So I wanted to get rid of some of that dust if I could before I stuck the tape on. I also put these patches around it so I could make sure it's going to fit and just to see how it's going to fit before I actually peel the tape backing off. And you can see it should be a pretty much perfect fit for me. It would be nice if it was just a little bit bigger, but it should work as is. There's a lot of fray around the edges of the bite where they just sort of nod at the mesh, and so there's a lot of fray there. And I did my best just to clean it up just enough so that we didn't have a lot of fray everywhere. But I didn't want to cut too much to where I wouldn't be able to still stick the circle around the hole. So we have a couple options here. We can put it on the outside. We could also put it on the inside. And then on the instructions, it says you can actually take 2 of them and then stick them together to have even stronger hold and a better seal on that rip. The pack does come with 2 patches. I think I'm going to just start with one, and I'm going to put it on the outside so it's just laying on top. The instructions do say to lay this flat and then put it on, but I think I'm going to lay it while we have the tent up because we've got a lot of good tension. This is how it's going to sit anyways, and so I would rather put it on while the tent is set up so that when we set it up, it's not like pulling that spot in a weird way as we tension out, you know, with the tent poles and things. And then I have some other small holes, as I mentioned, where the squirrels sort of made little chew marks around the top of the tent. There's maybe 3 or 4 little chew marks that are smaller than the size of like my fingernail. So they're very small ones. There's some that are a little bit bigger, but they're not that big. And I think what I'm going to do is just take the tenacious tape and just put a little bit over those smaller holes just to patch those up and not use, you know, a big patch like this because they're really small. The tenacious tape is also made by Gear Aid. They make both of these products. And I've used tenacious tape before on like a jacket and a sleeping bag if you get like a little puncture or something. These work really great just to patch it. It's just the clear version of it. So let's get the tent patched up. I'm gonna peel the backing off of the Gear Aid. We'll stick it onto the outside here and see how it feels. And if I need to put the second one on the other side, I will, but let's just see how this one feels and holds. All right, let's get this patch on so we can get this tent back up and running. Really nice, this has a break in it, so you can bend it and then peel off that backing. And go ahead and peel that off there. I hate this part because you get like one shot to stick it just right. So let's see if we can get it. That tape is super sticky. It's gonna be a good adhesive, that's the good news. I'm gonna start with that far corner over there. I can always put an additional small piece of tenacious tape if I have one little opening, like on the edge here. It looks like it's not gonna quite get there. Let's try it one more time. Let's hit this edge perfectly right there. All right, so we got that patch on there, but unfortunately it just wasn't big enough to cover the full hole. And so over on this side, you can see we still have a little hole. So I think what I'm gonna do is just use that second patch just to go over the top of that, and then we'll be good. I guess another option is I can get a piece of tenacious tape and just plug the hole. Maybe I'll do that. When using tenacious tape, it is good to round corners off a little bit so that they don't snag. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just gonna round these corners and measure about how much we need, probably about there. All right, I've got my tenacious tape all rounded off, and we're just gonna peel that backing off. And you can see this is like a nice, clear, very adhesive tape that's going to go right over the top of that. I think I'm gonna actually come in from the back on this one so it sticks onto the back of that open area on this piece of tape and holds it all really nicely. Just stick it right there. That looks perfect. Boom. I think I might put one more little small tenacious tape over the top here. It's got some exposed tape and a little fray right there. So I'm just gonna throw one more little piece of tape on the top right there. But man, this actually came out really good. I'm happy with the results of the patch kit. Okay, I've got that second piece of tenacious tape that I'm gonna lay right over the other one just to seal up that spot really well. No fray left over. I've got 2 pieces of tape sticking to each other. That looks like a pretty good patch job. Now you might be wondering, is it sticky coming through the other side? It's not too bad where all my mesh is. There's not a lot of adhesive. There is one little spot right in here that still has a little more adhesive exposed because there's a direct hole and it didn't grab any mesh right there. So I'm gonna take one more small piece of tenacious tape and put it right there. That way we're not getting this sticky spot. But if you look up here where it's stuck to the mesh, there's no sticky. I can't feel any sticky coming through, but right where there is no mesh and the tenacious tape's just exposed, I can feel it. So I'm gonna put one more on the back side here, and I think it'll be done for that spot. All right, I've got this last piece of tenacious tape that I'm going to put on the back side here just to bind it all really well so we don't have any exposed tenacious tape. And that, I think, is going to do it. Yep, it feels good. Everything feels great. I'll come in and clean this up a little later, but there's just a little bit of fray still that I now know that I don't need, so I'll probably just shave off a little bit of extra fray just to clean it up. But this is definitely going to work. Tent mesh is saved in this spot. So the other little spots aren't going to be too complicated. As I mentioned earlier, there are a few little holes that they made as well. You can see this is the biggest of the other small holes, and it's very tiny. So I won't make you guys stick around too much longer, but I'm basically going to take 2 small pieces of gear aid, one little on the top, one on the bottom, so they just adhere together. And then I'll do that for the other small holes. So here's the small piece of tenacious tape. I'm gonna stick it right over the top of that hole there. Covered everything very nicely. Then I'm gonna do the same thing on the inside and stick another piece on the back side. So there we go, another hole fixed. And you know, if you get small holes in your mesh and things, really easy to use the gear aid just to patch those up. These fixes look like they should last several more years, so I'm excited that it all worked out for me. If you backpack long enough and camp long enough, eventually something like this is going to happen, right? You're gonna have an animal, you're gonna have, in my case, a squirrel, chew a hole in your tent. It could be a dog, you know, accidentally scratching the tent, or you poking with your trekking pole, or something is going to happen to your mesh. And it's nice to know that we've got ways to fix it pretty effectively. If you've fixed a tent and fixed your mesh before and you did it in a different way and it worked really well, let us know in the comments. We're all here to learn together. This is just what I came up with and it seems to have worked well. We'll see if it holds up over the next several years. I'll keep you guys updated. If the way I fix the tent mesh is going to help you out in the future, go ahead and click that like button. And if you want to see more videos like this, more backpacking and camping videos, gear videos, make sure you subscribe to follow along. And if you get out there a lot like I do, I hope to see you guys on the trail.